Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're watching our show again this week. We're always happy for people like you that are interested in what's happening in our cities up in the Northwest area. It's important for good government that there be people that are following what's happening in the cities and they interact with the mayors and the city councils and the city staff. That's when good government can happen. So we're glad that you're interested. If you haven't watched our show before, each week we'll have someone on from one of the 9 cities in CCX's viewing area to fill us in on what are the current and up-and-coming projects in that city. And we encourage you, if it's your city, be sure to take down the phone number and email, and then if some of those topics really resonate and are important to you, you can be in contact with our guest or with your city. So we're glad to have you with us. And we're glad to have Mayor Jeff Lunde with us from Brooklyn Park.
Thank you.
You've been an ongoing source of information about our city. We appreciate your coming.
Yep.
And so I'm going to have you introduce yourself out to our wider audience. Yep. People in Brooklyn Park probably are familiar with you, but the other cities they might not. So tell us a little bit about your time in Brooklyn Park.
Yeah, so I'm currently mayor of Brooklyn Park, serving my second term. I've been resident since '97, I think it is. My wife is a lifelong resident, and we're married and have 2 sons that go to school in Jackson Middle School and the Champlain Brooklyn Park Academy. So kind of active, getting more into youth sports and stuff like that. And so, with summer approaching, things are getting a little bit, getting busy in many ways. So
we're glad to have you with us. And then another issue that we talked a little bit about is there's redevelopment happening in your city. And there's a lot of things going on. You're bringing some new hotels are coming in.
Yes. Yep.
So maybe we can start out with where are these new hotels going to be located?
Yep. So right now we just broke ground on a hotel for 2. It's like the same one site with 2 hotels.
Okay.
Hilton hotels. One's a long stay, one's a normal stay. Just off of West Broadway and 610.
Okay.
And then we have a 3rd hotel, Fairfield Inns. The first 2 are Hiltons. Next one's Fairfield Inn Marriott. That'll be on Zane and 610 on the north side. And so, we had new hotels for decades. Minneapolis Marriott Northwest was a redo of the old hotel there. But these are brand new right from the bottom. So we're pretty excited. The hotels tend to drive restaurants.
Oh, yes.
And we know a couple of the restaurants have restaurant pads.
And people like restaurants.
Yes, I think you see a hotel, you tend to see places to eat.
Right.
And so I'd say if parking isn't the thing people are asking about, it's retail and restaurants. And so we know those things will help drive.
And how large will these hotels be?
I believe, I want to say about 200 units between the 2.
So.
And I think the Fairfield Inn is like maybe 80. So right in there somewhere, which good number. I think it serves a need. And if anybody's been on 610 lately, it's a little busy.
Lots of work and lots of cars.
Yes, there's a couple cars there now.
Yeah.
And so it's now becoming very busy, and so it changed the dynamics of where hotels want to locate.
Oh, and it's definitely an area that's stimulating activity and building.
Yep, I think what people notice, and even with all the construction, you can still be downtown in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're 20 minutes from downtown, you get all these businesses up there. Hotels makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yes.
And then weekends tend to be family coming out of town or stuff like that. So.
And there's something available.
Yes.
For that and for the businesses.
Yep, it's exciting because it's something, if you look at a city that's growing, adding these hotels helps.
So the one has got the ground broken and one is getting up to that part.
Yep.
How long does it take to build a hotel?
About 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were asking, are you ready for the Super Bowl? And they're like, well, that's not why we're doing this. And no, we won't be. So it takes about 6-9 months, to get things moving because they have to hire staff. I mean, there's a lot of jobs that goes in a hotel and things like that. So the first 2 are a pair. They're out of a firm out of St. Louis, Midas Hospitality. The other one is, I believe, a local firm with Fairfield Marriott. So good name brands, right? Hilton and Marriott.
Definitely.
So very well known. So that's a good thing. They don't invest anywhere.
Right. Good plus for your community. Yes. And then you've got some townhomes. There's called Amesbury is
Yes.
the title for them. Where are these townhomes going to be?
They are just to the east of Prairie Care, if people watching are familiar with Prairie Care. So on 610,
Okay.
kind of tucked away a little bit, but they're about 98 units, I think it is. And average
quite a
price would be
few.
about $350.
Okay.
So not your cheap little townhome.
Right.
But what they're finding is a lot of people who are empty nesters
Oh, yes.
are really looking at these more so than the people who you think, oh, people who don't have
Yeah.
kids. It's the opposite. It's people who have had kids who are looking for them. But some will be standalone and some will
sure.
be units.
So it'll be a variety.
Yes. Yep.
And what's the timeline on this project?
So I expect them to break ground this summer.
Okay.
I don't know their development schedule if they're going to open up some units.
Yeah.
I would expect they'll have some units open this fall.
Okay.
And they'll probably try to sell some because it helps get things moving when you have activity. But it's land that's been there for a long time.
Okay.
Zoned for townhomes, just south of St. Gerard's if people are on 610. So all good stuff.
Yeah, and we were talking before the show started, there's a lot of work that comes up to the point where you're breaking ground,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yeah. Breaking ground is kind of this, okay, now it's real.
The
So people always ask me,
culmination,
do you
right,
approve something? I always say, when dirt's being moved is when I believe it's happening
Right.
because that means all the financing and everything's lined up. And so it's kind of an exciting time. I think people, and it's happening throughout the city, it's not just on 610 where they see construction. I think people have a different feeling.
Oh, right,
Because
right.
when you feel like things are happening,
Yeah.
you
Your city's moving,
Yes,
right?
I think it is. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, when people, and the opposite is true. When cities, you start to go by areas that are just falling apart,
Oh, yeah.
empty, they're graffiti. I think people, their psyche, their pride in the city goes down.
Yeah,
And so
perception is important.
it is important. People believe they're in some place where things are happening. Everything happens with that. So
Right. And then there's a medical office building
Yes.
going in. So where is that located?
Yes, so that's right next to Prairie Care. So a
Okay.
couple of years ago, we were fortunate to win a contested, where they're going to develop, and we were able to get Prairie Care to locate their children's hospital in Brooklyn Park.
Right.
And there's anybody who thinks there's enough children's hospitals, they're wrong.
For sure.
Mental health, you get them all over the state and all
Yeah.
over the Dakotas.
There's a big need.
And it's another of those things. Why do you have hotels? Because a lot of people,
Oh, sure.
they'll be inpatient, there'll be weekend, there'll be things. So kids have differing needs, and it's all youth. And so what was happening is Prairie Care had their facilities for caring for the kids. They all the associated, the psychologists, the nurses, all the other stuff that went with it.
Right.
All those businesses needed a place. So they ended up, the office building's being built, and I think the developer would tell you if they'd known that the Prairie Cares and all their associated companies would take it all, they probably would have built a bigger one. So I think it's already pretty much full.
Oh. And,
So-
and now Ryan Companies is building it. So
Yep.
maybe you could talk a little bit about what's the process of how you pick a developer?
Yeah, well, and so that property is the old Seed family. So people who may have been in the community for a while think about the golf course.
Right.
And so the Seed family played a role in that.
Yeah.
And so they've owned that property in that area for a long time. And so I think as things started to move, the Hy-Vee is another
Right.
example up
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's up there.
Was Hy-Vee, Ryan's done a lot of development. They make good partners. They're good partners with the city. They drive a good development. The Seed family's been a long time patient landowner and been patient to buy into the vision of the
Waiting
city.
for this
Yeah,
to open up and start.
I think that you
developing.
can't undersell that when you have this large tracts of land where people have owned them for many decades, that they have a sense that they just don't want to sell it for the quick buck.
Right.
Although they're there to make money,
Oh,
don't get me wrong.
definitely.
But the fact is they buy into the vision of the city. And so a lot of these longtime developers grew up here. The Schreibers, the Tessmans, they've been along for
Right.
centuries. I think the Schreibers have been around for.
Right.
And so I think they weren't just going to say, whatever we could get for $1, we're just going to do it. And so we've been fortunate
Oh,
to have
yes,
those people
yes.
buy into this vision that we want good quality stuff.
For the long run of
Yes.
things,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And that development, one more building over on that side will trigger a road to go through
Oh,
there.
well,
Which
sure.
I think once that happens, you'll see more development.
Yeah, and then you have more people that want to come
Yeah,
up
because
here.
but once a road is fully
Right.
developed, it'll help with some transit stuff in there. So
And then that project is already built.
yes, it's. I think walls are up. I don't know when they're going to be opening. I would expect it probably this summer, because I think they're furnishing it the inside now, but the outside I believe is pretty close to being done. But yeah, they move fast nowadays.
Ah, right,
So-
right. Now, all of these projects fit into your city's comprehensive plan, right?
Yes. Yep. That thing that no one wants to talk about.
Right.
That everybody, no one shows up at any meeting for.
right.
But yet it guides everything. So yeah, we've had these plans. You know, when things were tight, people were like, you know, why are you sticking to these plans? And
Right.
part of it was we wanted good quality development. We want jobs that have butts, people in chairs.
Right.
Butts
right.
in chairs, as
right.
we say. And so we're happy to keep pushing that vision and getting companies to keep locating there.
Right.
So.
And there's been a lot of them. If
Yes,
you
got
just
more
drive
medical
down,
device companies, and so we keep getting good technology companies, mostly scientific medical.
So there's that kind of attracts other like businesses to the
Well,
area.
and I think one of the things that's going on right across from where the hotels are going, there is Takeda Pharmaceutical, not the airbag company out of Japan.
Right.
Everybody always asks me that, but no, it's the largest pharmaceutical company in Japan. It owns it's a biopharmacy.
Right.
It has a statewide investment because we don't have biopharmaceuticals in Minnesota of any
Right.
kind of, and this would be big. So when they decided to invest in it, they're starting to move dirt around.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I was fortunate to have lunch with the governor, Lieutenant Governor, the officials from Japan, and the Mayo Clinic. And we talked a lot about where does this role of the biopharmaceutical industry
right.
play in Minnesota.
Right.
Because we own, we're not, us in Boston are the owners of the scientific, you know, devices for
Right.
medical. But this is a different deal. This is pharmaceutical. So.
Yeah, but kind of branching out.
Well, it's important. It's nice to have where you have a site that has statewide, because if the site doesn't take off, it's like a punch in the stomach.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
then
right.
you lose out, and the next
Right.
one who wants to relocate goes, well, that one failed there,
yeah.
and so people tend to locate where success is.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Yep.
Now, are there any other new businesses that you know of that are coming or have recently come to your city?
Mostly scientific devices. And I think right now we're kind of a lull. I think we've got some stuff coming. But you know, I think people are starting to sneak into things. If you go on 169 and you go past past 101st, back in there, you'll see a couple of medical device companies, that quiet device companies that do stuff. So.
Now, all of our cities are in the beginning stages of working on the 2018 city budget.
Yes.
You just barely got the other one done, right?
Yes.
And then you start on the next one. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what are the priorities that your city council used in establishing this year's budget?
Yep.
And are there any different, are you moving in any different directions for next year?
I think there's a couple things that work. One is we've had some long-term funds that, you know, bore people to tears,
right?
but have value over time.
Oh, yes.
And so those have been underfunded. We've been taken from funds to help overcover the cost here, so we could lessen the impact. We're going to have to come to some, as I say, come Jesus moments and decide what we're going to do with those funds. The added two wrinkles for us, and what's going to make it a very interesting fall, I'll put it that way, 3 new council members.
Oh, right.
We do 2-year budgets.
Right, I remember that.
And so this is our first of a 2-year budget. So we're actually passing 2
2 years at a time, not one, right?
We modify the second year, but pretty much it's, and so I honestly don't know what's going to happen. So I think, you know, we've got some new council members who have new ideas.
Yeah.
They want to have an impact.
Of
We have
course.
some other council members who are the same idea, so it'll be, we've got to gel. People think that that's an underspoken term, but it's very important.
Oh, yeah, and it takes time to come to some agreement on what everybody can think is important.
And guess what? Not everybody in the council is going to get what they want.
Right.
And it depends if there's a time, and you know, some people say, no, I'm not voting for anything. Okay, congratulations, you're not voting. The problem is we have to pass something.
Right.
And you know, saying no to everything isn't an answer either.
Right.
So I think that we're going to have to come to a couple things. It'll be tough. So
It takes time. That's why why it takes a long time to get to that point.
yes,
Right.
you know, and we've got a great new finance director, Tony Green.
That helps.
I think it will help provide some stability. We've got our staff, and so we've got time to kind of get in. As our city manager's been here, you know, last year he came the second year of his 2-year budget. So I think we've got everything in place to do that. And you know, one of the reasons we hired our city manager is he came from city of Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota with a more of an efficiency viewpoint versus a budgetary background, which is 2 different things. He's an economist by trade, so I think that we're going to start to see where he applies some of that reasons we hired him. it doesn't make it,
can
going to make it easy.
No, but it will add to the process
I think it will.
in the long run.
Yep. I think it'll be, at the end of the day, we get down to a number.
Uh-huh.
And so we've changed how we do a discussion at the city. We no longer go through this long interrogation of each department where you're looking for how many paper clips we now just say, what's the number? Preliminary, we come back. Council says, here's where we are. Staff comes back and says, okay, if you want that number, here's what we propose to do. And we go from there. I think that's the best way to do it. Because at the end of the day, we voted on a number. We don't vote.
Oh, right, because
The motion doesn't say, we're adding 3 cops, we're taking this. It just says, here's the levy.
Right. Yeah, because then what was the levy for this year? Because ultimately, all this budgeting process ends up with the tax levy.
Yes, yep. And and levies are hard to explain because
they are.
If your house value goes up 10% and the city average is 15% up, your percentage of the levy went down. So even though the levy may have went up 4%, you're going to pay less money because your percent of the pie went down.
Right.
Contrary, in Brooklyn Park, the area of our city that's expanding or experiencing the most growth is the parts of the city that were hit the hardest by the housing crisis.
Right.
So they're seeing like 25% increases in house values. That's awesome, right?
Right.
Until
tax
time come around, and that's not awesome.
Right.
So, and some of those people were on the edge where the state of Minnesota, they shield part of the value of the townhome.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they go over and they're not shielded anymore.
Yeah.
And so their taxes go up 50%. We're like, how could that be possible? Now we know. So it's.
And then the steps that you'll take, ultimately you end up by September in deciding what's the most
Yes. Yep.
you're going to levy.
Yeah, it's something, when I first got on the council, I was like, no, we should pick our number. And maybe I've just gone soft on it. But at the end of the day, that preliminary number is strictly preliminary.
Right.
And the real number is in December.
Yeah, and then I'm going to say, then you really do the hard work to come up
your
with.
preliminary number does nothing more than generate a bunch of people going, you propose a 10% increase, even though we're not going to go there.
Right.
But it's just prudent because we always can come down. We can't go up.
Well, you can't go up, but you can come down.
So. And I think we're very aware that the message it sends, if we set a low initial preliminary levy, we're going to come down from there. But
now, if a lot of people out there are only going to be interested in the end result, right?
Yes.
But some people are interested in how you reach that result. Where can they look for input? Not input, but knowledge about what you're doing.
A couple things. The council will schedule times where we're going to have discussions. We have a very active budget advisory commission that gets involved, takes a look at things, and they'll look at things from public point of view, and they make recommendations back to us.
Right.
And so we'll have a chance to. People can get lots of input there. I think the problem with the preliminary levy, it doesn't actually get mailed out to the residents till November.
Right.
And so by the time people are like, wait a minute, it's, we're already in the clutch run. But I think people should pay attention. And I think what we're also going to try to do is, in the past we tended to say, we looked at the water rates in the spring. We looked at this in September, this in December. We've decided to try to say all of the money things are going to go in one pot, not together, but at one time. So we can say, okay, water rates have to go up $1.
Right.
Okay, that's a tax increase. So we need to include that, be thinking of that, because what I think council's got, we get to September and we did a franchise fee, we did a water rate, sewer rate, and we've already done some increases on people.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to say, let's do this all at the same time.
Yeah, then it will make more sense to people watching and following.
I think a lot of residents, they feel they're getting value for their tax dollars, feel okay. I'm not going to act like people want to spend more money. They don't.
Right.
But if they feel like they're getting value, I think that helps.
Are you spending their money wisely?
Yes. If they feel like you're wasting it and you're blowing it and they're not getting value, they have a right to be upset. And I think that is, God bless them, that's a voter's right.
Well, and then during this time while you're working on it, is it time for people to be contacting the mayors and the city council people with ideas they have or what they want to see or what they don't want to see, is to be sharing their thoughts?
And the hard, cold reality for anybody watching the program is 76% of the city budget is employees.
Right.
And so you can cut paper clips, training all you want. That works for 1 year.
Right.
You get back to the fact, if you're going to do cut or not increase,
Right.
you cut people. We've done that.
And you cut services.
Yes.
Right.
And then with that comes service cuts. And so that's where people, were like, hey, public safety is 51% of our budget.
Right.
I don't make the rules. I just deal with the facts. The facts are those. So when you're talking about, say, we should cut, people will tell me, we need to cut $1 million. Okay.
Yeah. Where do
Any
you want to cut?
suggestions?
What do you not want to see?
Yeah, I mean, and I think when people, it's not that people don't think that we shouldn't cut money. It's just people have to remember 76% of our budget. So therefore, every dollar, 76 cents should be employee
Right.
cuts. We've done that.
Right.
We've consolidated, but there's, this summer we're going to talk a lot about code enforcement.
Yeah.
In the past, we've not been funding code enforcement personnel because we've been trying to save money.
Yeah.
Now you pay for it. So it'll be an interesting process.
Yeah, we'll just encourage people, follow it if it's your thing. If you're
it's nice to hear feedback from people who care about something.
Right.
Because then you're like, okay, this is important. And it's just good to know.
Right. Now, on a topic that is just impinging but not active in our area, is Minneapolis and St. Paul are both working at some regulations with businesses, whether it's sick leave or $15 an hour pay or how you package things. And I thought it would be good to just talk with how does that affect the suburbs? Of course, then it also went to the state legislature too. Yep. So it's an issue that people hear about. Do suburban cities like yours have any groups lobbying for those kinds of things? So is that an issue that you're hearing from or not hearing from? Or
I'm sure as soon as I say this that we haven't had anybody. I'll get somebody. We haven't yet.
Okay.
I know there are groups that will come.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we're watching Minneapolis St. Paul is it going to work?
Right. Yeah. You don't know because they can be.
And what are the effects if I have a business in Brooklyn Park who's based here? And they do some business in Minneapolis, how do those rules pertain?
Right.
Because typically business regulation hits small business the hardest because they don't have the funds to deal with all the regulation. Yeah. And so, Brooklyn Park tends to have smaller businesses. So, that regulation tends to have a greater effect. I think that, and people who have, watched me on my Twitter or on my Facebook have seen the thing that we're not talking about in this $15 an hour thing is robotics and AI.
Oh, yeah.
And people who don't, those two things, which no one is talking about, will have more effect on employment and labor, how robust the labor market is than any other thing. Because as you raise the cost of labor, the ROI of robotics and all this other stuff, and they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who thinks they're not, they need to pay attention. Changes the ROI. People will say, you know what, if I have to carry so many workers, I can pay no overtime, no benefits, have a fixed asset, and have that do meal prep.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait and see.
There's a lot of factors that get involved.
Yes. Typically suburbs, we tend to get businesses out of Minneapolis St. Paul by not being Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Well, and then
I think that's the suburb-wide, not just Brooklyn Park.
Right. And there is discussion about maybe this needs to be a statewide issue versus a city issue.
Yep. I believe it's better for statewide. The legislature chose not to.
Right.
And so, but the other part of me is local control.
Yep, and that's what I was going to bring up.
If these rules and these changes are wildly successful, great.
Yeah.
If they're not, there's only one group to blame. It's not the state legislature, it's not Brooklyn Park, it's not the federal government, it's the city of Minneapolis. But if they're successful, they get all the credit, right? So,
right. Well, and to have some group try it out is helpful to all the others that are just watching.
I just don't see, Brooklyn Park with that will adopt that. But I think that a lot of that is here in Brooklyn Park we have a lot more diverse opinions.
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot more diverse needs. I think we take a little different look at things. Minneapolis St. Paul doesn't have that diverse political look.
And the suburbs are different, have their differences from the metro, the cities.
Yeah, and you imagine, let's say we did this.
Yeah.
Champlin would start to get a bunch of restaurants. That wouldn't go to Brooklyn Park. Because if I was a restaurant owner, I could say, you can just relocate in Champlin, not pay the same regulations.
Yeah, so it's sort of a gnarly issue. But
yes, Minneapolis St. Paul being bigger, I think they have they can.
Right.
We'll see.
Deal with it differently.
And I have no idea what's going to happen. And
So it's moving forward.
It's all of them.
It's
Yep,
moving
I'm happy to
forward.
let other
Right.
cities experiment on stuff.
And then, now, switching topics again, you have a home rehabilitation program to help keep your neighborhoods up to date. Can you tell us how that program works?
Yeah, we have limited funds, so
Okay.
I'll be very careful there.
Right.
But we try to help people reinvest. So some people who may not have the money to redo their furnace need a new furnace or need a new roof.
Right.
And so we know that if these reinvestments are done on a house, it tends to make the house last longer.
Right.
It doesn't go into that cycle where it just goes down the toilet,
Right.
where it becomes a place that we
A
end
blight.
Yes. And so we know that if we can just provide some of that help to some people, it's based off their income, it's better for the city in the long run.
Oh, sure.
Because the minimum amount of money that I may provide to somebody to help them keep their house upkeep will save the money in city services. And city services could be code enforcement,
Yeah.
it could be renter inspections. I can think of all the things that a house can become when it
Right.
starts to go down the bad side. It always costs more money than if we could have helped stop that with some, because if a person can't afford a new furnace, they give the house back to the bank. And now we have a house with no furnace
Right.
that now someone else owns. So we try to make sure we can invest money where we can.
Right. And then this is a program where Hennepin County is helping out?
Yes. Yeah, we work closely with Hennepin County, the city. We identify people. It could be our code enforcement people. If they're out there working, like if they came to your house and they had a complaint and they were looking because of the roof, they may have the ability, hey, you need a new roof.
Right.
Conversation, we find out you don't have the money. They help connect people to this program so that they need a roof. We can actually fix. The real problem is they can't afford a new roof. It's not that they're code enforcement issue. It's the fact that they can't afford the roof. So let's see what we can do to help with that.
And so people then apply for grants if
Yes.
they meet some minimal qualifications.
Yep. It's based off income. It's also based on how long you stay here. And if the amount is not paid back, we assess it to the house so the city and the county get their money back. So the taxpayers are made whole. And so we just try to do what we can, where we can.
And then there's some efforts to help women and minority contractors in this whole process?
Yep, I think, and that part I'm a little light on, but I know that we always try to make sure in the county, I think, is more, they're tracking that.
Right.
Just help opportunities for small businesses. And in Brooklyn Park, the smaller the business, the more likely they're diverse.
Oh, right.
Just trying to make sure they have opportunity, because any business owner would tell you that one of the things that they hate the worst is they don't know about a bid or, we need this much stuff, and they never find out. It's worse for people who aren't connected. And so this is a good way to help people who may own a business who have a diverse or female-led firm to access some of that stuff.
Right. So it's working in two different directions, both with the minority women businesses and with people that need to do work on their home but can't afford it.
No, I think that, and if you think about today's entrepreneurs tend to be more diverse because they come here with nothing. They have to be diverse or an entrepreneur to make money. And so we're trying to get these people connected to the businesses that people have always known about, the local businesses. So we're just trying to do our part. Some of the money that comes to the feds come with these requirements.
Oh, yes.
And so we just try to make sure we honor those commitments.
Now, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time and your experience and helping people out there learn more about what's happening in the city of Brooklyn Park. And we're glad that you've been with us, and we hope you'll come back. Bye.